How's it going, guys? Grant here. Back to do another prediction show for the upcoming UFC Fight Night 100. Carlos Prates versus Neil Magny. 12 bout card, now that we lost a couple fights, taking place in Las Vegas this Saturday at the Apex. Hoping to continue with my decent streak with picks. Went 10-3 last week. Called the main event. Hoping to continue that. I think I'm at 2-0 on main event picks since I started this channel. So hoping to have the same results this week. Been doing a lot of analysis, but I gotta say this is a quite a minefield of a card this week. So a lot of fights that are up in the air, in my opinion, could go either way. But got a good feeling on a lot of these. Some of them are still kind of unsure of, but there's also some definite locks in here as well. So let's get started here with Tresean Gore versus Antonio Tricoli. Man, I went back and forth on this one. Tresean Gore, very untested, 4-2 MMA record. Very lackluster for a guy who said that he was going to be a 2-division champion only 2 years ago. So, Tresean Gore, good reach, good takedowns, power in the feet. Did go to a decision loss against Brian Battle, which at the time didn't look too good, but now we see kind of Brian Battle, his potential. He's really grown as a fighter. I think he could definitely be a threat if he continues to put on the performances that he has. But then you come across a knockout loss to Cody Brundage. And I thought going into this fight, there's no way that I could bet on somebody who lost by knockout to Cody Brundage. Not a very good look. But again, a lot of great fighters get caught. Followed that up with a guillotine choke win over Josh Fremd. Pretty nasty guillotine choke. Damn near popped his head off of his neck, it looked like. But, yeah, I don't know. He's coming off a long layoff. I think he had a couple injuries, shoulder labrum tear, wrist injury, things like that. But again, Antonio Tricoli, huge frame, 6'6" for the division, 80-inch reach, southpaw, jiu-jitsu brown belt. Had a good performance in Dana White's Contender Series where he, against a decent opponent, ended up winning by, I think it was a rear naked choke. Also failed drug tests, so you know that he's willing to cheat, which is good to see if you're trying to pick the winning fighter, I guess. Also doesn't have a lot of fights as of late. He's fought 4 times maybe in the last 5 years. So not a lot of consistency there. His fight with Sharap Magomedov, he just didn't get anything going, had zero output, had the reach advantage, was on the feet the entire time. I know Magomedov's a good striker, but he just doesn't seem to really put anything out there. I mean, I just don't think I don't think he's going to be able to hurt Tresean Gore, even though Cody Brundage did. I think Gore is going to be able to shoot the takedowns, mix it up. I think he's got more power on the feet. Good right hand. Doesn't check leg kicks at all, which is concerning. But I just think Tresean Gore is going to have the athleticism and the power advantage here. And I think that he's going to be able to get it done. If he doesn't get the knockout, I can see him winning a unanimous decision. So I'm going to go Tresean Gore in this one. Again, iffy fight. I think Tresean Gore is a small favorite, but I think he gets it done. I'm just not impressed with Tricoli at all. And again, even though Tresean Gore's been out for about 2 years, Anthony Tricoli hasn't had a lot of fights as of late either. He's no spring chicken either. So I'm going to go Tresean Gore in that one. Next up is Cortavius Romeus versus Gaston Bolaños. I'm going to go with Cortavius Romeus on this one. Guy's just a little ball muscle, good takedowns, insane power on the feet. Seen him get a lot of good arm bars, which is good to see from a strong guy who's got good wrestling. Sometimes those guys just rely on the wrestling. They don't really develop any jiu-jitsu, but I like to see arm bars in MMA. It's not something that you see very often now. So the fact that he's been hitting them from a lot of different positions speaks well to his, jiu-jitsu prowess. Bolaños, a very high-level striker. I remember seeing him on Joe Rogan back in the day. Very good striker, comes from a Muay Thai background. Very 50-50 record. I think he fought in Bellator, was beating a bunch of cans. I mean, one guy looked like he was straight out of the crowd, like 0-4, came in there and got knocked out viciously. So, I don't know. I just think Romies is going to have too much of a power advantage, too much of a grappling advantage. I just see him throwing big strikes in the clinch, controlling all the grappling. I think he can submit Bolaños if he wants to, or just beat him up on the ground. Just don't see him giving Bolaños the space on the feet to get any success going. And I know that Bolaños isn't going to be shooting takedowns on him. So I think Cortavius is going to be able to dictate where the fight takes place. And I think he's going to be able to put the fight where he knows he's better, and that's on the ground. So I expect to see Romies take this one. Next up is Melissa Mullins versus Claudia Segula. Melissa Mullins, jiu-jitsu brown belt. She's shown willingness to make the fight ugly, mix in her strikes to get into the clinch positions on the fence. I know that she works extensively on her grappling against the fence. I know they do like 90-minute sessions, I heard, where it's just working the clinch with knees, elbows, looking for takedowns. So I know she's got a very good clinch, very good takedowns and ground and pound. Gritty as well. Sorry to get dropped by, I think it was Irina Aleksheva, and come back to win the next 2 rounds. So I know that she can take a beating, she can get hurt and still come back and be able to dig deep and get the win. Did show some susceptibility to knees along the fence, and in the little footage that I could find of Claudia Segula, she looked like she threw with really bad intentions. Whenever she'd get pressed against the fence, she was digging for underhooks and throwing knees to the body. But then I saw her fighting just very low-level competition and getting controlled in the grappling department. I think one of her older fights, a few fights ago, she was completely dominated in the grappling and somehow was gifted the decision. So Segula also has a lot of submission defeats, and I think she'll be the smaller fighter. I think Mullins has kind of learned from her striking deficiencies in the last few fights. She was hurt to the body by Nora Cannoli. Not a good look for her, but I think that she'll be able to learn from that, those striking mistakes, and be able to grind out a decision either by probably unanimous or split decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if she was able to win by ground and pound or a submission. Just I feel like she's going to be the bigger fighter and just have much better grappling. So I'm going to go with Melissa Mullins in this one. Next fight is Cody Stamann versus Damon Blackshear. So this one I've been going back and forth on. Cody Stamann, he has a great pace. He throws a lot of volume. Comes from a wrestling background, but he doesn't really use it. I think he wrestled D1, but he's willing to shoot takedowns, mix it up, has power in the feet, doesn't really get tired, hard to finish. Looking at his record, I know he's only lost to top-tier competition, so he's lost to Merab Dvalishvili, Jimmy Rivera back in the day, who was a top contender at one point, and then lost recently to Douglas Silva de Andrade. Had him hurt badly in that fight, kind of fumbled that finish there. And I think he lost to Aljamain Sterling, who we all know, former champ, considered the GOAT. Maybe the GOAT. I don't consider him the GOAT, but. And then he recently lost to Taylor Lapilus, just kind of got outpointed in the striking department. So, I think he's felt the rub of top-tier competition. He's been in there with the best. He's been in there with, Saeed Nurmagomedov, who's no joke in the grappling department either. Also comes from a boxing background. Golden Gloves winner back in 2008, I think it was. So he's got good feints, in and out, throws a lot of power, doesn't get tired, mixes up the takedowns. Hurting Silva de Andrade with his hands in their fight, almost put him away. My concern is he's got like an 8-inch reach disadvantage to Damon Blackshear in this one. But Blackshear, I see Blackshear as kind of a 50-50 fighter. He's coming in off of a loss. Man, it was like 18 seconds to Montel Jackson. Yeah, and that wasn't that long ago. It was back in July. So I just don't know how coming off of that loss. I mean, he had to have taken some time off. So it's, how hard is he training? How hard of a training camp did he really get in? How much of a push, how much of the sparring is he able to put in without, further hurting himself? Is he going to be gun shy in this next fight? Coming off of 2 losses, could be a good thing. Back could be against the wall. But my concern is against a pressure-heavy fighter like Cody Stamann, who can keep it on the feet if he wants to or take you down and can land pretty thudding shots. He's shown to hurt people. I'm just concerned that he's not going to have the confidence in his stand-up and in his chin potentially. So I think Cody Stamann's a pretty big underdog in this one. Damon Blackshear's a minus 250 over Cody Stamann at a plus 190. So not a bad underdog pick. Again, hard to see how Damon Blackshear's going to bounce back from this one, from that loss. He got tired in his fight with Mario Batista, or Mario Batista kind of took over in the end there and started conceding grappling positions. So I think Damon Blackshear, he might have a good first round, but we'll see how his cardio stands up because I know Stamann's not going to get tired. Dude's not going to quit. So I'm going to go with the underdog here, Cody Stamann. Unanimous decision win over Damon Blackshear. Next fight is Charles Ratke versus Matt Semmelsberger. I'm going to go with Matt Semmelsberger in this one. Been watching a lot of his fights. Dude's very big for the weight class, super athletic. I know he was a multi-sport athlete back in the day. I think he went to college for football, but he did wrestle at least through high school. Grew up doing martial arts, all that. He's 6'1". What is he? I think he's 6'1". He's gonna have a 4-inch height and a 3-inch reach advantage over Ratke. Ratke used to fight at lightweight. Semmelsberger could never make lightweight as hard as he tried. So I think Semmelsberger's going to have he may not have the grappling advantage. I know Ratke's got a black belt, but I think that Semmelsberger, he's gonna be able to keep it on the feet. Only concern is if he gets tired in this fight, is he going to be able to continue to defend takedowns or defend the strikes on the feet? But I don't think Ratke's going to be able to push a pace to really get Semmelsberger out of his comfort zone. Semmelsberger's coming off of 3 losses, but I mean, he was tagging Medic in that fight. He had a back and forth fight with, I think it was Brandon Parsons? Was that his name? Or Preston Parsons? Those guys had a really good scrap back and forth. I think Semmelsberger was getting the best of him, but I think he just started to gas towards the end there. So it was hurting Parsons too. But I just think Semmelsberger, he throws with bad intentions. He has very powerful strikes. A couple sub 20-second knockouts in his career. Like I said, hurting Uros Medic before he got finished, hurting Preston Parsons. I just think that he's going to be able to keep the fight on the feet. I think he's going to be able to nullify any grappling that Charles Ratke brings to the table. And I think he's going to be able to put a striking clinic on Ratke. I think that he could potentially finish Ratke on the feet. I am concerned. I feel like he fumbles finishes at times, but Semmelsberger's coming off of a 3. He's at like 3. I don't think he lost to Jeremiah Wells, but technically coming off of 3 losses, so back's against the wall. I think he's going to feel the pressure. He's had a decent amount of time off. Last fight was January of 2024, so only 31, coming into his prime, bigger fighter, heavy hands, more athletic, grittier. So let's hope that he comes back with the long hair, the mullet, and puts it to Ratke like I think he's going to. So Next up is Mansour Abdul-Malik versus Dusko Todorovic. Malik, big dude, 6'2", 80-inch reach versus 6'1", 74-inch reach in Todorovic. I know Abdul-Malik comes from a wrestling background. Wrestled 2 years, I believe, in the University of Maryland. He's a very powerful striker. Huge frame for the division. I think he'll be able to nullify any grappling by Dusko. I know Dusko was on like the national Serbian wrestling team back in the day. He's got a black belt. I just don't think he's going to have enough to handle Malik's power, his frame, and his wrestling background. I saw Malik on the Contender Series. His opponent was hot garbage, but he was able to put on just pretty brutal ground and pound on that guy and get him out of there in the second round. I think it was Wes Schultz was the guy's name. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Yeah, Wes Schultz, ground and pound round 2. So, seen him putting away a lot of his opponents by KO or at least he's got one submission, but doesn't have a lot of fights that are going past round 2. So I'd be curious to see what happens if Dusko can kind of weather that initial storm and push him into the later rounds. Like how was I don't think Malik's been tested. How's he going to react when he's not putting away these tomato cans as easy as he has been? So and Dusko's no joke. He's been around the game for a long time, but coming off of a knee injury, I heard it was an ACL tear, so he's been out for about a year and a half. How's he going to feel coming back after a year and a half? Not full confidence in your knee. Before that, had a pretty gritty fight with Jordan Wright, which isn't a good look. Jordan Wright kind of took him down and beat him up that first round, and then gassed. So who knows how that fight goes if Jordan Wright didn't gas. And then you got Chidi Njokuani, who's basically the same frame and style of Malik. Maybe not the wrestling, but Chidi Njokuani's a legit black belt. He was able to hold his own in the grappling department and nullify those positions that Todorovic was trying to get, and then ends up hitting him with a beautiful elbow out of nowhere and flatlining him. So I just think Malik's going to be too powerful for him. He's going to be able to control the fight and put it where he wants it to be, which is going to be on the feet or in top position on the ground, laying in bombs. So I'm going to go with Malik to win this one by KO or decision. Next up is Jillian Robertson versus Luana Pinheiro. I'm going to go with Jillian Robertson in this one. She's the better grappler, high-level black belt. I think she has a black belt under Dean Thomas. Competes on the side, submitted Rose Namajunas 65 seconds, recently beat Montana De La Rosa in a pure grappling match. And ever since she moved, where'd she move? Is it GOAT? Yeah, the Goat Shed Gym in Florida. Her striking has just improved remarkably. In her last fight against, I think it was Michelle Watterson, was it? Let's see here. Yeah, Michelle Watterson. She looked really good on the feet. Had Michelle Watterson in all kinds of trouble on the ground, threatening submissions. And Michelle Watterson's no joke either. She's a black belt as well. Doing just enough to stay out of trouble on the ground. But Jillian Robertson, she's only 29. She's been training since she was like 16. Still getting better. Hasn't peaked as a fighter yet. Luana, she's got good striking. She throws with a lot of bad intent and power on the feet. But she seems to gas out. She gasses a little bit, and then she gets finished. She got finished by Amanda Ribas after she was gassing out. Had a really good fight with Angela Hill, but then Angela Hill mounted, guillotine choked her. So I just think Jillian Robertson's going to be able to hold her own on the feet and get it into the ground and then dominate the grappling positions. I think if you're getting tapped out by Angela Hill, Jillian Robertson's going to put it on you. So I see Jillian Robertson just being able to nullify her striking, shoot her takedowns when she needs to, dominate the positions on the ground, and with a submission, more than likely. If not a submission, it's going to be a unanimous decision, in my opinion. So Next fight up is Elizeu Zaleski versus Zach Scroggins. He was initially supposed to fight Nicholas Dalby, who just pulled out. Looking at Zach Scroggins, it doesn't look like he's fought anybody on the regional scene remotely close to UFC caliber. Zaleski's been in the game for forever. He's 39. He's fought the who's who in the welterweight division. Got some losses on his record, some fights that in hindsight aren't the best. Randy Brown's a big dude, lost a decision. No shame in that. Draw with Renat Fakhretdinov. Saw recently how he performed against a short notice replacement in Carlos Leal, who again, very untested guy. Not really sure where he stands within the UFC and with UFC caliber opponents. Beat up on Benoit Saint Denis, but that was a short notice replacement. Moving up in weight class, lost to Muslim Salikov, lost to Jing Liang Li. And this was earlier in his career, back when he was in his prime, 34, 35. So I just think you got to be beating guys like that. You got to be putting those guys away to be considered high level in the UFC. But I just think he's going to have the skills and the experience in the octagon, the experience against these world-class fighters of that division. I just think he's going to have too much for Scroggins. Scroggins is a big dude. He's like 6'3". Looked like he's got decent stand-up, decent grappling. Just hasn't fought anybody of note. His last fight was Zach Bukia, I think he was, who's like an old man, is how I can describe him. Let me pull this guy's record up. Just a straight-up old dude. Zach Bukia. 19-15, 40 years old. He was 19-14 when they fought back in May, and it went to unanimous decision. You got to be smoking guys like that on the regional scene. Josh Weston, 9-20, 42 years old. So his last two fights, 40-year-old men with damn near losing records. It's you got to be finishing guys like that if you expect to stand a chance against somebody like Zaleski. So I'm going to go with Zaleski. Short notice opponents. I know it's always, Zach Scroggins is taking this fight on short notice, but Zaleski's also taking it on short notice. He's not training for Scroggins. He was training for Dalby. So again, kind of a two-way street there, but I still think that Zaleski's gonna get this one done. Next fight, Renier de Ridder versus Gerald Meerschaert. Renier de Ridder, been watching him for a long time, over in one championship. Very talented guy, very talented on the ground. Excellent grappler. Not the best stand-up, throws good knees in the clinch here and there, but he's shown susceptibility to getting knocked out when he comes across somebody he can't take down who is a legit striker. I think he was knocked out twice by Anthony Malikin, I think his name was, he's a savage in his own right. So not taking anything away from him there, but I just think to beat somebody like Renier de Ridder, who's 6'4" and an amazing grappling, you got to be able to threaten him on the feet. And GM3, Gerald Meerschaert, he's never really been able to threaten anybody on the feet. De Ridder, former one championship middleweight and light heavyweight champ, beat a lot of good fighters. The guys that he's beaten over and won aren't a bunch of cans. These are legit guys with great records that he is finishing. I think he's got 15 finishes out of his 17 wins. So I just think he's gonna have the striking advantage. I think he's gonna be the bigger dude. And when I say striking advantage, I mean very small striking advantage. I don't think either of these guys are going to win any K1 striking championships anytime soon, but I just think Renier de Ridder is just better everywhere than Gerald Meerschaert. But if anybody's going to pull off the underdog submission win, it's GM3, and I wouldn't be mad about it because that dude's a dog as well. But I'm going to go with Renier de Ridder. I think he's just overall more skilled than GM3. I think the UFC sees a star in him potentially, and he's not getting any younger. He's 34, so I think they're giving him a good matchup in his first fight They're not giving him a sprawl and brawl type of striker who's going to be able to keep it on the feet and just beat him up in his first fight in the promotion, because I imagine they're not paying him well. So I'm going to go with DeRitter in this one. Ricky Turcio versus Bernardo Sopage. Turcios, he's just a spazzy dude. Long hair, spazzy. Like, I don't think he's got very good scrambles and grappling exchanges. Hasn't shown the best takedown defense, but he does get his own takedowns. When he gets taken down, he finds a way to roll for leg locks or to look for sweeps or look to just get back to his feet. So he's not ever laying on his back and accepting position on the ground. But other than that, I mean, I just don't think he has the skills to really go anywhere in this division. I know when he's on the feet, he's very susceptible to getting hit in the face a lot. Fought Kevin Natividad, got hurt by a left hook in round 2, took several flying knees, cheap kicks to the head, just took a lot of damage. But he keeps pressing forward no matter what happens. He's got the pace, he's got the cardio. Cheats a lot. It seems like every strike he throws on the ground is at the back of his opponent's head. He'll grab the fence, doesn't get punished for it, doesn't get penalized, which is kind of frustrating. But Bernardo Sopage, just watched him fight. I think it was, who was it, Vinicius Salvador? Was that his name? Great fight. Very polished striker. Very good grappling, very good takedowns. I know he trains out of All Stars in Sweden. So you got the likes of, Chimaev and Chimaev's training partners out there. So no slouch in the grappling department. He did get reversed and hurt in his fight against Vinicius Oliveira. Controlled on the ground, took a lot of punishment. It looked like he was going to finish that fight second round. But Vinicius just came back and kind of turned it around round 2. And then round 3 just beat the dude up. It was hard to watch, beating up the lead leg, landing punches at will. I think it was like 20 seconds left, knocked him out cold with a flying knee KO. So that's not good to see. I don't like to see that when I am in the fighter that I'm going to pick. And it wasn't, I guess it was back in March, so it's been a decent amount of time. So I'm concerned about, what's Bernardo Sopage going to look like when he comes back. Is he going to be gun shy? But I just think regardless of all that, I think he's got the skills. He's going to be, levels above Ricky Turcios on the feet. And I think he's got the grappling ability to keep Turcios at bay. And I think if he can keep it on the feet, I think he's got the power and technique to put Turcios away. So I'm going to go with Bernardo Sopage. Again, I think he's a decent favorite, but I am concerned. No, he's not. He's a minus 135 favorite. So, again, Sopage did look like he gassed in his last fight. Granted, he was getting hurt on the feet. Went for the sub, went for the win, didn't get it. Probably adrenaline dumped. But Turcios just, there's no quitting that guy, and he's not going to stop moving. He's not going to stop coming after you, which concerns me. So Turcio's not a bad pick for an underdog, but I got to go with Bernardo Sopage just on technical skills, just being the better fighter everywhere technically. But I do think Ricky Turcio got that dog in him and could get the underdog win here. But I'm going to go with Bernardo Sopage. I'm going to trust in his wrestling and his striking, and just being better everywhere than Turcios. And where are we at? Are we at the main event yet? I'm lost. Bernardo Sopage. Yes. Yeah, we lost a few fights. So, yes, now Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates is probably one of the scariest guys to come up in the welterweight division, in my opinion. Putting guys out left and right. round 2 knockout contender series, round 2 knockout against Trevin Giles, who Trevin Giles is no slouch. Dude's got great boxing. We saw in his last fight against Mike Malott, he really wasn't letting his hands go, but when you did, you just saw he was just crispy jabs, crispy 1-2s, just wasn't really putting anything together, wasn't stringing any combinations together, unfortunately, but no slouch on the feet. He got put out. Charles Ratke, tough guy, he got put out, knee to the body. And then Jianglang Li, that fight was just hard to watch. Big fan of Li. It was hard to see him just kind of get picked apart and slowly figured out and eventually just put to sleep. So I think if you're demolishing Jianglang Li like that, then I think that he's just going to put an absolute whooping on Neil Magny. Now, Neil Magny's a tough dude. He's resilient. We've seen him take a beating and come back. But you just look at his record. He's so 50-50. Lost to Machado Gary, who, again, great striker on the feet, moves well, but just doesn't have the power, doesn't have the finishing potential, doesn't have the killer instinct, the tenacity that Prates does. Was able to outlast Malott, however you want to say it. Won that by ground and pound. Not a good look. And then he lost recently to Michael Morales by ground and pound, just back in August. Which, again, Michael Morales, I think he's like 14-0. Dude's a stud, big guy. Similar to Prates as well. So I just think Neil Magny I don't think he's going to have the physicality to get Prates to the ground. I think if he does try to get to the ground, he's going to eat a lot of shots. I think Prates can keep it standing. I don't think he has to worry about Neil Magny striking whatsoever. And all he needs is a single combination, a single shot to hurt Magny, and he's got 5 rounds to do it. So I think the UFC is offering up Neil Magny as a sacrifice to the young up-and-comer. And I think Prates is he's going to win this one with a highlight reel finish, more than likely. So what are the odds on this one? Neil Magny plus 475. Eesh. And Prates is minus 670 favorite. So yeah, I don't just looking at the odds here, he was a much smaller favorite against all of his other last 4 opponents, and he knocked out all those guys. None of them got out of round 2. So Neil Magny, older guy, 37, out of his prime, fighting for a paycheck. Super nice dude, but you can already see he's been kind of fed to the wolves. Ian Machado Gary, young up-and-comer. Mike Malott, young up-and-comer, fumbled it. Michael Morales, young up-and-comer. It's like we're starting to see a pattern here, and I think that we're going to see that pattern continue with Prates winning by vicious KO. May even see Magny retire. Who knows? But definitely going to see Prates with the win. Awful matchmaking, honestly. I don't know who thought this was a good idea to put together, but I don't see how Prates wins this one. So maybe I'll be eating my words in a few days, but pretty confident in that one. So, but that's my picks, guys. Appreciate you watching. Give the channel a subscribe, channel a like. Just getting started with this, but I feel like I've got good picks so far. So looking to get better at this and not have my videos be so cringy every time. So appreciate it, guys.